I will present to you today the infrastructure we have put in place, the different guidelines we followed to build this infrastructure in Switzerland based on open digital radio tools. This morning, if you were there, you have seen a presentation from one of my colleagues here, Matthias Brendli. So he did present the open source tool and the philosophy behind that. And now I will show you what we did with these tools in real case when we had to build sites for a real broadcast situation with the open digital radio tool built in. So, sorry, it's this one. Okay. The main problem was that during a long period, when people were talking about digital radio, whatever it is, but in Europe, DAB or DAB+, the small community radio station or smaller player were a little bit feeling alone because they were in a situation where they had no real solution for them. The cost was too high, so the ticket entry was too high for smaller radio station. And they were feeling a little bit like, okay, we are on the side, and it might be the end for us if we switch off FM, and if only DAB remains in the future, what are the solutions for small radio station? So the idea of this open source tool and community was to work on elements to allow people to have a technical solution to put in place transmitters like they would do in FM, but taking into account the complexity you have on a digital broadcast system. So that was the main goal. And even if you can mutualize the resource with a DAB multiplex system, it's still quite a high cost for smaller entity. Usually, this is what you have when you have a transmission system. You have some encoders or data encoders at the broadcaster side or sometimes the operator side. You have a transmission headend that will host your multiplexer to join all the program together, and then you will send the signal from the multiplexer to a site where you have a transmitter. It can be one site or it can be several sites. So what we finally did is this. We decided to make everything on the site, meaning that we are able to play internet stream, to encode them on the multiplexer, and to do everything in one machine. We can also take audio stream from a DAB encoder, as you will do in a classic solution, but we take it directly to the site. So this is basically the main difference you will see in the workflow with this solution. It doesn't mean you cannot do the previous solution. You can run your multiplexer software in a specific point and create a headend, but you are not forced to do that. You can really, it's like Lego. You can really use the different software part, and I will come back into this software module to explain how you can play with that. So when we started for the case in Switzerland, it was exactly this. We had small radio station. They were web radio or even station from Unicom, where they have also some FM coverage. But we started by just taking their web stream, and we use this web stream to play it at the transmitter site, and we then re-encode it for the DAB format. So by doing that, we really reduce the cost because we don't use a specific contribution link or expensive telecom interface. We really use an IP network, whatever will be the carrier, but we use an IP network and we just take an internet stream. So we started like this because you can understand that if you want then to improve your quality, you will maybe prefer to start to install encoder to the radio. But this was the situation in the beginning, and it was only possible because of that, because for the radio, they had no additional cost on their premises to be on DAB. Another main difference is most of the network you have today here in Switzerland are, as we call, the single frequency network. So you have, in fact, a certain number of transmitters to cover one area. They are synchronized together, and you cover a wide area with a few transmitters. So it's really efficient to do this, because you can, in fact, reinforce the coverage with several transmitters, but it means that you have the same station everywhere. So if a small station from a city wants to broadcast on this network, he will have to pay, in fact, the cost for the overall network, even if he's only interested to be there. Because as soon as the operator will put the station on this network, it will be everywhere. So that's the usual situation. And DAB, from the beginning, was designed to work like this. And what we do in this case, we use, as we call, island. The island concept is, in fact, we ask to Ofcom, the regulation body, to allow different frequency for different cities. And in fact, we install transmitter only for a small area. So it's closer to the model of the FM station, the local FM station, with one transmitter. But you still need to group people together, because you will not build a DAB infrastructure for a city just for one radio station when you can put, let's say, 16 radio stations in one ensemble. So, but this is the second main difference to understand why we made the choice of using the multiplexer in the beginning on site. We don't need to go into all the details, but that's another view to show you, in fact, how we did. Here you clearly see that for some station, we just took their icecast or shortcast or whatever stream on a public server. Some station from the beginning, they said, okay, I prefer to send you a dedicated stream for DAB. Maybe because they don't want to put the same advertisement, or they want to have some different content at some moment during the day. Then, as every operator, we have to secure the connectivity with the site, because radio stations don't like when there is a off-time period. So as I said before, again, we use always IP network. So any streams, any contribution content is over IP. And okay, I see that during the export, some drawing are not, I have it here, but not here, so but it's not a problem. It's just to show you that, in fact, you have, when you have a site, always minimum 2 access. So here, for example, you have 2 sites. It's possible to interconnect these 2 sites via a radio link. For example, here, you can have a DSL connection on one site. Then here you have another radio link to go on a data center somewhere. So it means that if we lose this link or this one, we still have always a possibility to access the site and to continue to feed the transmitter with the radio stream. If there is a site which is isolated from the other, so it's not possible to get a line of sight connection here, we will, in this case, use any connection to have at least two access. As it is broadcast, we don't need to have high bandwidths. By nature, your transmitter is multicast, so you just need to ensure that you have enough bandwidth to carry the audio stream for each radio, an additional bandwidth for remote control, management, monitoring, etc. And you are done. This morning during the presentation, we talk about software, because most of the trick is in software. Usually, when you build a transmitter or a big broadcast infrastructure, you have always one device dedicated for one function. And I mean, as today computers are very powerful and environments start to be generic, it becomes easy to integrate a lot of functionality in software. So the classic DAB function, meaning taking the audio to encode audio, to make the right format for DAB. So in DAB today, we will use AAC Plus with padding to put metadata on it, like MOT slideshow, like DLS, or any alternative metadata. So everything is done on a computer. The multiplexing, the same. It's also on a computer. The modulation too, so the mathematical model to make the modulation is there. We also provide some filtering in the software to already clean the carrier, so it's a kind of mask filters. So all of that is there. And then we only go to, as we call, the SDR card, the software-defined radio card. You can compare, again, this card like an audio card. More than 20 years ago, you had, the computer able to make music. So artists, musicians, they started to use computer to generate sound. So they use a sound card. The SDR card is exactly the same thing, but for high frequency, for radio frequency. So that's the same concept. The main difference will be that you have higher frequency, you use components that are working faster, and here the bandwidth will quickly be quite important to fit this kind of device. Then the rest of the elements here, no change. You still need a high power amplifier as anybody will do. Then you can choose different technology of amplifier if you seek for specific needs. There is question with energy efficiency, etc. But here we change nothing. We use, as everybody, the same kind of amplifier, the same kind of filters, and antenna. As I told you before, even if you build a low-cost infrastructure, the radio they don't like when they are offered, and sometimes when you choose a site, the access of the site is not always easy. Meaning, if it's winter or you don't have always very nice road to go on a site. So we also put in place everything to have a redundant transmit chain. And here, either we create two independent chains that are exactly identical, like Swisscom will do or any other operator, or we also make a mix of different ways to do, like having a bank of amplifier, and if one element in the amplifier fails, we reduce the power, but we don't cut the signals. Some sites during winter, really, they are not always easy to access. And if we want to guarantee in the SLA that we have the time to react, to go on site, to replace equipment, it's always wise to make add redundancy and to back up your systems. So, before I said everything is a kind of Lego. So you have a lot of part of software, independent process that are working, and we can link them together. So that's exactly what we do. And all of that, again, it's in a computer until here. So then we go to the physical layer. It can work on any computer like this. We show that because we use this for a demo and it's easy to carry them. But this morning, for example, in the demo you see here with the transmission is even running on this laptop. The thing is, okay, we don't use that on a site. It could work, but it's maybe not designed to support very high temperature. Maybe it will not like if it is too wet. But okay, you can do something like this. You can use this kind of platform. That's an Intel. That's an Intel computer. And okay, if it is running on a nice environment, okay, it will do the job. Then, in our case, we use server-grade hardware to ensure that it is strong and reliable over the time. And here, you can see that's, in fact, the card. So this one is fed via USB, but you have also different options. It's made by a company in California called Etus Research. The real name for this card is USRP, so they have different model. This one can work up to 6 gigahertz. So that's only then with the software that you will define which type of modulation you will use. So if you are willing to invent your own new super-duper modulation, you can. You have no real limits. The limits will be the frequency that can output the cards and the power you will use in this card, so the bandwidth you will in fact carry over the USB. On site, okay, what we prefer to do then is to integrate on box like this, because we put it on a rack and we like when it's a little bit clean, and also to protect the card from external spike. You can also see, just a small remark, a small green board. So this board has been designed by Mr. Brindley here. It is in fact to add a GPS DO. It's to sync the card with a GPS antenna if we want to do SFN. But it can be also useful for the island when we are not doing SFN, because it means if we interrupt the system and we restart it immediately to make a change, as it will start in sync, the receiver will immediately lock again the signal. You don't need to wait. Maybe you have seen that a DAB receiver, when sometimes you switch from one radio to another one, it takes some long time, and sometimes it's fast. So when you select a radio from a transmitter, when you switch from one radio to another one, which are on the same transmitter, usually it's fast. When you change from one radio, which is, I don't know, on the public service, and then you move to a radio which is on Swiss Mediacast, for example, then the receiver has to sync again. So it takes time. So if we want to make very quick interruption and we stay in sync, we can even hide let's say the interruption, because it's so fast when we do this that the receiver will immediately lock again on the signals. But that was designed mainly for SFN. Because even if in this case, I told you we use islands, so it's one transmitter, in fact, it's not totally true. It can be more than one transmitter, because maybe you need a small transmitter somewhere just to fill a hole somewhere in the coverage. So when you have a big city and in some area the signal is a little bit weak, sometimes it's not very wise to add more power on the main site, first because it might be not allowed, and then adding power on a high altitude site or a large system will maybe help a little bit, but will not be enough to fill the poor coverage you have on a specific point. So again, with DAB we can synchronize several transmitters together to improve the coverage. So this is for that. And then, yes, it's a Lego. So you see that we have, I will maybe take this. So you see that we have, in fact, is it working? Yeah. So we have players here on this area. It can be directly an audio card to take an audio input from a computer. It can be a player for internet stream. And then we use an audio server, which is called Jack. And then with this server, we can distribute and route the audio to the different DAB encoders, which are here. And again, all these software modules, here, everything can be on a single computer, or you can say, no, I put this encoder at the radio studio, I want to put the mux here, and the transmitter will be there. You just need to have good connectivity between systems. We can also, as a remark, output directly what we generate on a file or read a file. It's quite useful sometimes for demo or loop, and also for development or debugging. Then, either we choose to go again through this card, and we have an RF signal that we use to feed a high-power amplifier from this card. But we have also the possibility to use an E1 card. Why? It's to use ETI. So ETI is the standard used by professional transmitter when you want to feed a professional exciter for DAB. So we have also this to generate an ETI. There is also a possibility to do EDI. Okay, not yet, but working on that. This is in fact, in simple, the same as ETI, but it's over Ethernet, or over IP. Sorry. And professional equipment also understand these signals. I told you before, okay, you can put everything together or spread your elements. We have to interconnect them. You need a good connectivity. Okay, IP network are not always guaranteed. Especially if you want to use, let's say, low-cost infrastructure. If you don't want to pay to have a leased line at a very expensive price. So it means we need, when you interconnect this, we need to have a TCP session, and actually we use a library called ZeroMQ. And the beauty of ZeroMQ is that you can, in fact, connect your source to a destination. It can also work on a different, it's stateless, I think, stateless process. Yeah. Okay. But the thing is, it will manage the buffering itself. So how you do to cope with network where you don't have guaranteed bandwidth, you have to pay with latency. So you had some delay, and the element which is receiving there need to have some buffering to ensure that when some packet arrive late, he has the time to retrieve it and to continue the streams. But okay, it's quite obvious today on internet world, but it is streaming here everywhere, and if you don't have this kind of mechanism, it will never work over an IP network. Then what I have to say on that, no, it's just the small part here is in fact the same here as the audio encoder, but we add on the audio encoder metadata. So that's typically what you see here. You have some slide show. So here, what you see is this laptop is connected via Wi-Fi. So Matthias Brindley is in fact playing a stream from Radio FIP in Paris. And then he is doing exactly that, feeding an encoder, adding metadata here, the mux, and then we go to discard. We have a small antenna on it, and you have here the rebroadcast from the stream he take on internet. So just to show you that finally you do with small equipment all the process to create a valid DAB transmission. Monitoring tools, yes, because you run transmitters, you cannot follow them all the time, so you need to get alerts, trigger, and everything to know if your system are working. And it's better to know it before the customer call, to say, hey, it's not working. So, okay, we don't see very well here, but that's basically tools that we use as any operator. But this one is open source. For example, for the statistic page, it's called Munin. But there is also some specific scripts put in place to then send email alerts and to check the presence. And also we start to deploy RF probe that we can put somewhere in the city and not on the site, because we don't want to depend on the same electricity feed, etc., to have a validation of the service. So this kind of probe will tell you first the RF level, the presence of your signals, and if inside your signals you get all the service declared as it is, and if there is audio on it. And also you can monitor the fact that you have data on each service. So if you have a metadata service declared but it's empty, the system will tell you, okay, I see the service, but it's empty. So it means that your multiplexer and transmitter are running, but the source is not there. So it can be a connectivity problem, or it can be the customer which is generating nothing. So this is all the correlation between the different systems that will tell you where is the problem. That's an example of, this one was the first setup with a license, if I'm right. That was in Amsterdam, IBC. In fact, the aim of the system was to demonstrate different protocols for the EBU. It was not possible to purchase expensive DAB equipment. So when Mathias Coinchon was working on the project for, it was, I think, already hybrid radio, things like this. It was the beginning of multimedia to show also that on a DAB-MUX you can do television, you can mix different standards like DAB, DAB+, etc. That was in fact the kit to demonstrate that. It was a license during IBC, and we had a small amplifier here with an ERP of about 10 watts. The computer here was in fact doing more than DAB. It was doing DAB, it was doing DRM, and also FM. Because again, it's software. So if you want to make an FM transmitter just with software and this card, you have an FM transmitter. And you have an idea of the cost for this. Okay, it's the cost of the equipment. Because again, as this morning, it's open source, it's free, you can use it, but you need to understand what you are doing. So there is always, here the idea is not to say, hey, this solution is clever than another one. It can fit a specific needs. But you always have either a cost on equipment if you buy on off-the-shelf solution, or if you want to put your hand on the system, you will get low-cost solution, but then you have you need times, so it's again cost. That was a second license in Geneva during the Radio Week, and you see that we have here the mask filter, but that was a stronger amplifier. The amplifier will remain always the main cost of your transmitter. And it was, at that time, the setup in place with the software. So the part in blue is what you have seen before, all the modules. And then that was the physical layer. At that time, we didn't have, this card was not released. It was an older version. So we had to use the outer board on it to work on specific frequencies, so to convert the frequency to another one. No, it's not anymore needed with this one. Again, this is a small card, you can work up to 6 gigahertz. This is actually the coverage from Felsenegg in Zurich. So the main lobe is turned to the direction of the city. The main issue with Felsenegg today, it is next to Albis, and you have then Uetliberg next to Zurich City. So Uetliberg will create a shadow, an important shadow for the west area of Zurich. So this is why, in this case, it's exactly the demonstration here, where if I put more power there, I will never be able to cover well near the Etikon. So here, this is clearly a situation where if you want to get a good coverage for the rest of the city hidden by Uetliberg, it's better to put even a 300-watt transmitter somewhere in the city than trying to increase the power. Then this is the coverage in Geneva. So Geneva started a few months before Zurich. And it is also on the mountains. The access is not always very easy, and it is panels antenna that are installed in the direction of the city. That was the first installation in Zurich during the first week. When we had the first computer for the test and one amplifier here. And then you see that was even not in a rack, it's the SDR card. And okay, we have also remote control systems, even to cut the power off if there is an issue or we need to do a power recycling. It never, the system itself never requests for the software this kind of things. Since no more than a year, we have seen that it can work 24/7 for a while. In Geneva, for example, we never, since the beginning, we restarted one time the computer when we were on site to update some element in the computer. But since more than a year now, we never restarted anything. That's the antenna in antenna system in Felsenegg. Felsenegg, we had a strong constraint for the landscape protection, because at the origin we were planning a bigger antenna system with better efficiency, but it was not accepted because it was too big, and for the area near Felsenegg, they were not willing to put too big antennas. So we had first to install wooden antenna, and to prove, okay, this is what you will have, and then when it was accepted, it was possible to do this. It's quite important. You have to understand that if you decide to build your own infrastructure, having a good site, having access to a site, and also not to have a guarantee that you can keep the site for years, this is important. So if the small radio station will have enough budget to afford a good Swisscom site like Uetliberg, okay, no question. But here, that was the issue. So it's not because we decided at one moment we don't want to work with existing site. It's only a question of cost. So that's mainly private site. So it's agreement made with a private owner, and the site is a quite difficult point when you build a network. And this is Geneva. So Geneva, you have a rack with FM and DAB equipment on it, and this is the antenna system in Geneva. Then there is another setup, which it uses exactly the same implementation. It is just smaller because you have no amplifier. That's the cable TV head in Lausanne. And here you see 4 DAB multiplexer transmitter. And as it is on the cable TV system, it's easy to adjust the level. And adjacent channel, you can see here, you have the 4 MUX. Is not a problem when you can guarantee the same level. You can really co-locate them. And you have today, it's also strange here because I have text but not here. Today you have 84 programs on these systems. So it's 21 programs per ensemble. And this is based exactly on the same solution. The main difference is only the streams we are taking are mainly coming from the local network of this cable TV operator because they have satellite reception, and they will multicast stream on their internal network. It's DVB stream, and then we just listen to this multicast to extract the audio and do the re-encoding. A short reminder, it's open source, so you can download it, you can use it, you can modify it, but you must keep the same license. Meaning if you made modification on the software for any reason, you can, but you cannot, if you make a product, for example, with that, keep the modification for you. So the license on the original code will always remain the same. That's how GPL works. And again, you don't have a off-the-shelf system, but on the other way, you have a community. And more people are using that, and more new needs arrive, and people integrate things. So Matthias Brindley is doing a very nice job to coordinate this on GitHub when he receives contribution from different persons over the world. Because you have to, when you accept code, just to check exactly what it is to ensure you don't kill the solution. But it's, I will say, since 1 year now, we see the number of people in the community growing because it is now really used more and more. Outside the Open Digital Radio module, you have other elements used for the solution because you have seen all the Lego bricks before. So again, Open Digital Radio, DAMMUX, and DAMMOD was a fork from CRC. CRC was a research center in Canada, but they were unfortunately forced to stop to spend time on that a few years ago, because finally DAB is not used in Canada. They are next to the US and it's HD radio. So they had no reason or legitimacy from their management to continue to develop that. And the idea was to say, okay, we need to, if we want to continue to improve the tools, we need to put hands on. But otherwise, you will see different elements here which are listed that are also used in the solution, and it's Linux package you will install. In the pipe, just to let you know what's happening now, there is now a mini DAB encoder which is done. So meaning that we have validated the DAB plus encoder on other platforms than classic PC, like AMD tiny computer board. Sorry, no, AMD, ARM computer boards. There is also on ZMQ, ZMQ was done because before we were using pipe. And there is also discussion about EPG, if it should be implemented or not. DLS slideshow, it is done. EDI, as I told you before, in progress, and this is currently under validation. There is some work. SFN, so SFN, there is codes available now. We need to make a real case, because it has been already used a few times during different camp, different tests in lab. But what we want to do now is a real test over an area. TII is also in the pipe. I know it's implemented now. Yeah, but it's not working. Okay. TII is also used in SFN to identify which transmitter you see when you have several transmitters synced together. And we still want to improve things on the monitoring tools. New codec, there is a discussion also to use optimize the psychoacoustic model for AAC+, for example, like Fraunhofer is doing, but it's not yet exactly decided how it will happen, because this kind of codec will never be open source, meaning the library for the audio encoding, but it doesn't mean it cannot be, in fact, supported by open digital radio tools. It's just that you will need to pay a license if you want to use for example, the Fraunhofer audio encoder. And what we do on a regular basis is we have to follow the update from Linux, etc., to ensure that the platform will run on the latest distribution. We really test everything and support Debian. It doesn't mean it will not work on other distribution, but I mean, we really try to stick on this one to, it's already enough work. People who are using the tools, people we know, because they might have other people that use it, but we don't know. There is a test, was a test in Germany, Kaiserslautern. France was the first MUX running in Marseille. UK also is now starting the small-scale island. So it's like in Switzerland, they cover smaller area. Denmark, Canal+, they use DAB since a while. They were really the first to use on a permanent basis the system. But they still run on the original tools because they do only DAB. They don't do DAB+, I think. Or they do DAB+ today. They do DAB+ now? Yeah. But they didn't move to the latest development because they had no need for new functionality. A test in Luxembourg, Switzerland, okay, that's the operator Digris, which is using this technology to build his network. CityCable in Lausanne. So that's now in use for real broadcast solution and real radio station. So, thank you for your attention.